Purdue also looking very impressive. I believe only one loss, oddly enough, at home to Iowa State. What are you seeing from the Boilermakers so far?
They are who they are, and they're always going to be that. They're extremely well coached. I mean, that one game they lost to Iowa State is perplexing. I watched that game, and it was kind of like one of those things where you're just like, man, it wasn't their day. Clearly, I mean, you have those games where it's not your day. In Iowa State, it was their day. Clearly, I mean, it's one of those things where those kind of things happen from time to time. But ever since then, I mean, they just do what they're supposed to do. They beat teams that they're supposed to beat. They handle them. Sometimes it's a little closer than what people would like, but that's just the brand of basketball that they play. They're not going to ever wow you. They're just going to play basketball the right way. That's how Matt Painter does things. They're always just going to have big dudes and like smart players, and they just do things the right way. They're the type of team that, my personal opinion as a former coach, that they would be a coach's dream, honestly, because you just got a bunch of guys out there playing as a team, doing the things the right way, and doing what you ask them to do, and they do it at an elite level, obviously. So just my personal opinion, it just as a coach, you would love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of funny to see them evolve a little bit. They had the rough couple of years there where they lost in the tournament to St. Peter's, and then the following year to Fairleigh Dickinson. I kind of feel like you saw them evolve after that, and now you're seeing a little bit. I believe stronger guard play out of them is
Yes,
what we're
yes,
seeing, and less of the because for a long time, like I don't know what their pitch was, but they had a monopoly on those guys that were 7'3" and taller. but
that they
but
did.
yeah, but yeah, so it's definitely a different Purdue than what you got used to at that point, but still a very very impressive team. And I mean, we could transition right to Iowa State. The Cyclones obviously off to one. They were one of the last five undefeated teams. Very hot start. Obviously had the very impressive win that we just mentioned against Purdue. Cyclones kind of had a rough week last week. They just finally got themselves back on the right track tonight when we are recording this podcast. What do you think about the Cyclones?
I wonder if the Big 12 is just gonna kind of cannibalize itself, kind of like what the Big 10 used to do. And it's what the Big Ten has struggled with recently as well, from the perspective of like they all beat each other up. So then when it comes to March, it's just so hard for them to win because they're all just beat up and gassed. And I wonder, with the Big 12 being elite like it is, if that's going to take the toll on Iowa State and some of those other upper echelon teams in that conference. But you watch Iowa State, and they're fun. They're fun to watch. Like that's a team that's an exciting group, and I always kind of look at them like in the past, like they've always been like. I hope this isn't taken as a derogatory term, but kind of like a renegade type program where they've just added transfer guys from all over the place and kind of done things that way. And it helped. It worked for like Hoiberg when he was there, and like Steve Prohm when he was there, and some of the other guys that were there. And I think that like what they have going right now, but one, they're extremely well coached. They do things the right way, but they just have athletes all across the board. And when you have the type of athletes that they have, it makes the things that they can do defensively a lot of fun. And we see that night in, night out. But there's going to be times I think where they're going to, like this past week, where they're going to run into some stretches, especially in conference play, where they're going to play teams that can defend at the level that they can, where their offense might not flow as well. And I think we kind of saw that this past week. So they're an elite team. They're one of those teams that can go win the national championship, but they're one that I look at and say, like, when they need to, like, get a bucket in a half court situation, what are they going to look to do? And obviously, they have guys that can do it. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the country. But comparing to them to some of the other teams that we've just talked about, that's one thing where I might look at them and question it compared to some of the other teams.